Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a little chat about Mozart's violin sonatas. Now, many people don't even know that Mozart wrote violin sonatas. It is the most neglected area of his chamber output. And there's actually a good reason for it, because, we have a slightly hypocritical attitude towards Mozart. The idea is Mozart was a genius. He was such a flaming genius. Everything he did is amazing. It's all equally fabulous, even something he wrote when he was like 6. And the reality, of course, is that it's not. The stuff he wrote when he was 6 is amazing for someone who was 6 or someone who was a prodigy. But is it great music? No, it's not. And not only that, when Mozart was young, he was writing more than he did, later on, when he had at least some reputation and some freedom of movement after he left Salzburg. He was writing to order. He was writing to show what he could do to an appreciative audience of people whose taste may not have been as elevated as his. So he did a lot of work a day, a lot of commission work, a lot of really basic stuff for the taste of the time and the Rococo taste of the time, which nobody today particularly respects. And so he wrote a lot of that kind of music, and the violin sonatas fall into that category. So the hypocrisy comes in where we, on the one hand, talk about how everything by Mozart is just a work of genius, but on the other hand, we neglect a lot of it. We ignore whatever, conveniently ignore whatever may not fit into that genial category. And, the violin sonatas contain some fairly uninteresting music. Well, it's all pretty. It's all nice, right? It's all attractive. There's nothing wrong with any of it. But the violin sonata, when Mozart got his hands on it initially, was part of what's called the accompanied sonata, for the same reason that we ignore Haydn's piano trios, which are also accompanied sonatas. In other words, they were piano works. They were keyboard works fortified by a violin playing the tune, mostly in unison with the piano, and sometimes, in the case of Haydn, a cello or something on the bass line, also to strengthen the lower end of the rather spindly piano, the forte piano's register in those days. So Mozart wrote his share, and his violin sonatas begin life as accompanied sonatas, but then they break away and they start to become real violin sonatas. But the damage was already done. By the time Mozart was writing with real equality between the two players, Beethoven was writing piano sonatas. No, I don't mean that they were contemporaneous, but I mean Beethoven's piano sonatas so set the standard that nobody wanted to go back and bother with, Mozart's couple of dozen. There really are. There's several dozen of them, of which, most of them are fairly, well, let's just say, Gebrauchmusik, utility music he wrote for specific tastes and people, and not indicative of the expansive, glorious genius that we know to be Mozart. And so I don't recommend that you listen to all of them, but if you do want to get your hands around them, a bunch of them, we talked about a bunch of them in that Ingrid Habler box with Heinrich Schering, which are wonderful performances, but they're in a big gesunta box. You may not want the whole thing. Just get this. This is a wonderful way to get your hands around the Mozart sonatas. It's Itzhak Perlman and Daniel Barenboim. And let's just get one thing straight. You do not want to hear these pieces played with no vibrato in the period style, quite frankly. They need as much red blood as you can shove into them. And these are not ridiculous, romanticized, anachronistic performances. They're tasteful, they're clean and clear and shapely and magnificently played. I mean, what do you expect from these guys? I mean, Perlman was a serious artist. He was not just, a romantic, schlag and that kind of guy. I mean, he could be when he wanted to be, when he did Schindler's List, he could heave and sob, or he could do whatever he wanted. But this is just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Barenboim is also very much in tune with the style of the music. He recorded, remember, all the Mozart piano concertos. He knows what he's doing. They both know what they're doing, and they don't do all the sonatas. They start with, what is it, 293A or 301, whatever you want to call it, which is, they're still accompanied sonatas. Most of them are in two movements. They're very short. One of the movements is often a theme in variations, which gives the violinist occasionally something to do, at least in the later sonatas. They're relaxing works. They're light works. They're for domestic consumption, for enjoyment at home. They're not major concert works, really, until you get to the end. But even then, even in his early phase, big Mozart is usually great Mozart. A couple of them start to expand. You get 3-movement works, occasionally a 4-movement work. The point is, with Mozart, longer and bigger is almost always better, because it means more music, and it means Mozart grappling with certain formal challenges of how to create interesting music in large forms, which is, of course, in the classical period, your guarantee that something nifty is going on. So I would definitely give this set a shot if you're interested in some of the highways and byways of Mozartian chamber music and his keyboard writing. Often the keyboard writing in these works is more interesting than it is in his actual piano sonatas, because it was written, first of all, for very, very talented amateurs, as often as not, and second of all, the presence of two instruments adds an extra wash of color and an opportunity for some kind of display on the part of both the keyboard artist and once in a while the violin that kind of, woke up people who were doing just sort of routine stuff. So give them a shot, see what you think. It's Mozart, right? It's all equally wonderful, right? You tell me. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.